Mary, the silent canvas of God's glory. Mary, the Mother of God, was a paradox of quietness and strength, a soul so emptied of self that her life became the clearest reflection of God's work. She was the blackboard on which the story of Jesus was written, not in loud proclamations of her own importance, but in the silence of her humility and the surrender of her very being. Her every word and action pointed not to herself but to Him, the Savior she bore and adored. When the angel announced that she would conceive the Son of God, she responded not with doubt or demands but with a simple, earth-shaking humility. Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord, let it be done to me according to your word. From that moment, Mary stepped into the background, allowing her life to be a stage for the glory of God and nothing more. Her heart, so full of love for her Son, was also full of a singular desire, that He be seen, heard, and known, while she disappeared into the shadow of His radiance. Mary's silence was not the silence of passivity but of profound strength. When Jesus was presented in the temple and Simeon's prophecy pierced her soul, she did not cry out in protest. She bore the knowledge of her Son's future suffering in quiet trust, carrying the sword that would one day strike her heart. Through the years, as Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, Mary remained in the background, treasuring these moments in her heart, letting the world's gaze fall entirely upon Him. At the wedding in Cana, her words were few but pointed, "Do whatever He tells you." Even there, she directed attention away from herself and onto Jesus, showing the way to all who would seek to follow Him. Her life was an anthem of humility, a surrender so total that she became the perfect vessel of God's grace. And then came the ultimate test, Golgotha. Mary stood at the foot of the cross, silent as her Son's lifeblood poured out before her. She did not cry out in despair, though her heart must have shattered 1,000 times over. She did not curse the heavens or demand justice, though her anguish was beyond comprehension. Instead, she stood, silent, steadfast, and surrendered, allowing her suffering to blend with His, her silence amplifying His final cry, "It is finished." Even in this moment, Mary disappeared so that God's glory could shine all the brighter. She chose to be nothing so that He could be everything, to be the canvas on which His masterpiece of redemption was painted. Mary's life is a challenge to every Christian who struggles with pride, self-promotion, or the need to be seen. She teaches us that true greatness lies not in drawing attention to ourselves but in pointing always to Christ. Her humility, her silence, her surrender, they confront the noisy, self-centered faith that so often seeks recognition rather than reflection. Mary's life whispers to us, can you be a blackboard for Christ? Can you let Him write His story on your life without trying to take credit for the work? Can you stand in silence when it is your heart that breaks, so that God's will may shine through you unbroken? In Mary, we see the highest form of discipleship, a life emptied of self and filled with God. She reminds us that the measure of our faith is not in how loudly we proclaim it but in how quietly we live it, letting Christ be all and ourselves nothing. Let us, like Mary, become the silent servants of God's glory, the blank canvas on which He paints His masterpiece, the humble instruments through which He works His will. And in our humility, let us echo her silent song, so that through us, the world may see only Him.